Okay. Hello, everybody. I hope you can all hear me. I hope that I'm there. It says that I have gone live. So let's see. I'm just going to wait until I see some confirmation in the chat or something. Okay. Let's see. We got quite a load of tracks already to start out with. As you can see, today I announced it before because the last few times we had some issues with people showing up late and not having a lot of tracks in the beginning to listen to. Nice, now I see the messages coming through. I'm still on the very long delay, so it takes a little bit of time for me to get going, like we're a minute into the stream and only now I get to see the first messages. So there's a big delay, I think, today, but that's something that I can deal with. Galactics, Tesla, Davey, Fosobi, Lowfuel, and Davey again, welcome. Just finished my stream. Nice. Okay, so for those that don't know, today is a feedback stream, which means you can go into my Discord server by typing !feedback. Let's see if the bot is woken up. Hello, Bobby. You can get into my Discord server, hopefully, if the bot is alive and well and wakes up. It doesn't seem to be right now, but that usually takes a little bit of time. But once you do, there should also be an invite link in my description of the stream anyway. But once you do, you come in here, you can scroll down and then go to feedback on stream. And there you can post your track, just like Virtual Instinct is doing here. And NOXO, Etia, Cosmic Turd, and Litz. And this one will be the first one that we'll start off with today. Don't do like me, OBS switched my mic off, did notice only after 20 minutes. I have enough people in my stream now that they'll immediately notify me if I'm muted. So I don't have to worry about that. If they see me talk and there's no audio coming out, I know that there's people that will notice. Can it be techno? It can be any kind of music. Okay, just some copyright thing there. Just some private message that I had to check. But that does remind me, before posting your track, do read what it says over here. There's basically two things being said here. By submitting your track, you grant me permission to play and review the track during live stream and subsequent video on YouTube. This is so that I can submit this against any copyright claims from what I get from you guys, from labels that you release on. And don't submit work that you don't fully own the copyright to. You have to have licenses for everything, so it cannot be a remix, it cannot be you using some vocal from somebody else, or you using some kind of sample for somewhere else. I cannot get in trouble basically for copyright issues, is what this is saying, and this is how to prevent that. Got some more tracks over there. So let's get started, shall we? How are my new monitors? I am very happy with them. They sound very, very good. They can sound a lot better if I get a proper room and everything like that. And if I spend some time actually testing and learning about how to set them up properly and how to get the most out of them. That's not going to happen here in this apartment. I got a lot of comments on what I should do, but I'm all going to wait with that until I move back into, or not back, until I move into another apartment. I may move back, actually. There is something that I might get arranged with the old apartment that I stayed in before this one. But I don't know if that's going to be the case or if I'm going to go to another place. It will depend on what I find. But then I want an apartment where I can have like a proper studio where it's not like it is right here, where the roof is slanted, which you guys probably cannot see on the camera. Let me check. Can you see the ceiling? No, you guys cannot see the ceiling, but the ceiling isn't very high here. So I cannot have any other setup than I have right now. So that means that I need to basically have a new space in order to properly set up my monitors and do all of the acoustics and stuff like that. Because right here, I'm never going to get in the sweet spot for the monitors. So that's something that I'll figure out sometime later. Now that I think about it, yeah, I could have rotated this to back there. Basically rotate the desk and the couch. But that's okay, because that's not necessary, I think. Because then I wouldn't have a proper way of getting into this place. As you can probably tell, lots of things to talk about or to think about. And I don't want to do that here, because I'm moving away from here yet. So anyway, we'll start listening to the music. We start off with Klauwland.mp3 by Skum litz. I'm sorry for the mispronunciation. Nice ambience here. The bass sounds a little bit strange in this beginning, like very open. Very high as well. It is losing that warmth that it had before. I like it, the kick and bass could be better. The bass line sounds a bit weird to me, like it's not made with a saw wave. It has a very strange mid-range, I think. I don't know if there's any strange comb filtering going on. I cannot see anything strange in here. Maybe it's a little bit flat on this side here. Like there's not enough second and third harmonic. But I like the nice progressive style that you have going on here. I don't like that the kick is low passed here. I know that you need some kind of transition into the other part, but if this really needs to be a transition, then the kick and bass should have less power. So lower volume and also high pass, something like that. So that we go in here and that the kick and bass then suddenly has more power than it had before. Because now it doesn't get more impact. I do also like this bass line more than the last one that you played. Some of those drums that you have, the orchestral drums, are very quiet. They don't have impact to them because they're too quiet. I think a sound like that, one of those like orchestral drums, is meant to have some power as well. What I would recommend, which is something that I couldn't hear in those orchestral things, if you have a lot of low frequencies in there, you don't want to have them in the drop, or you want to remove those low frequencies from the orchestral sample before you put it in the drop. But I couldn't hear if that was an issue because they're just too quiet in my opinion. Anyway, I do really like the idea. As I said, I like the nice progressive flow that you have going through the track. I like the intro. There was a little bit, in my opinion, rough transition between the intro and the kind of build-up that you had going, in that it became very crispy and it lost a lot of that warmth. So it was like warm, cold almost, and then it went into the drop, it became warmer again. Especially with that second bass line. I really like that second bass line. Adam has a lot of tweak possibilities. As I said, I'll look into all of that later. I did not get the package with the SonarWorks stuff, but that's something that I would also take into consideration when I move to the new space. I'll get myself one of those testing microphones and properly calibrate the monitors. I haven't written any tracks yet, but I have all tracks from 2023. It's all okay. Whatever you want feedback on, I'll listen to it. If you still plan on working on them or something like that, or even if you just want to know how the tracks feel to somebody else, then it's good to have feedback on them. Boosted the mids quite a lot and the sub seems kind of muddy, I don't know. But here in the track, it didn't feel too out of place in terms of the frequency response to me. The first kick and bass, as I said, had a weird tone to it. But even then, the overall spectrum of it, like where the energy was in the different areas, was quite okay, I would say. Next up, we'll listen to Chromatic Third. I love that username with Psytrance 144 BPM _ preview. .mp3, I should add. Starting off with some very crunchy chords. I'm not sure if I like this as an intro. It sounds very resonant, very crunchy. Also sounds like it's aliasing a little bit. Very loud effect sounds. Kick and bass sounds very quiet in comparison to the effects. Especially the kick doesn't have any power to it, like it doesn't have a sub bass. So if you look at the waveform, the kick just kind of stops here. It never really reaches those lowest frequencies. Even if you look here, right, it cuts off at just under 100 Hertz. You do want it to come down to that, like, 30, not 30 Hertz maybe, but at least like 40 Hertz-ish. And that's not happening here. You can see how you're cutting it off completely with the bass line. I don't know what the idea behind it is. I also don't know why the bass line is so loud in comparison to the kick. Like, the kick should be louder. And then the kick and bass in totality should be louder than those effects. Your effects are very loud here. Like, look how they overtake the waveform. An effect like that is meant to slightly help in the release of tension, not take over as a main element. Right? It shouldn't come in the way of your musical ideas. No real interplay between any of the elements. Like, the kick and bass is not working together with what the pattern of the acid sound is doing, and therefore it gets very confusing on what you actually want us to listen to. can hear the click from the kick just stopping at after a 16 note, I guess. Now the kick has some sub to it. This is sounding a lot better already. The kick sounds a lot lower. Let's see if we can check the waveform. Yeah, the kick just continues slightly more, I think. But even here, you can have the kick in the first half, providing the sub bass. And then this bass note should be properly aligned or just have the sub bass removed completely. And then you still have the bass coming from the actual bass line over here. It does look like you attempted to clean them, just looking at the waveform of the kick. Just at the start. I can't show it here anymore because the other elements are too loud. This is very unpleasant to listen to. Very resonant, very gritty. And also the changing of the patterns makes very little sense. The plug element coming in now. We have another groove going on here, another idea with the kick and bass. I would use... Okay, now we're going back to rolling kick and bass. I don't like this, what's happening here. It's like two different ideas put together. Overall, I don't like the track. There's a lot of issues with the mix in terms of just the basic volume balance. The second thing is that there's some issues with the writing as well in terms of the structure. Like I feel like your drops are too short and you're trying to do too much different ideas. Usually what I recommend, especially for beginners, is they stick to rolling bassline in the first and third drop and then do something creative with the bassline in the second drop. I have a video on arrangements that you should probably check out on that. But overall, I think, yeah, as I just looked over, I saw it. My first finished one, so this is the first finished Psytrance track of his. For a first track, this is very good because you're nailing the basic idea of what a Psytrance track should be. There's just a lot of things in the details of how Psytrance works that is different from other genres that doesn't really work, and the mix is off. I did say, right, the kick and bass seemed like it was properly cleaned. Hey Balour, how are your new monitors? They're very nice. I'm very happy with them. But today, unfortunately, I still have to use headphones for the streaming. I did see that Basilisk, when he streams, he does it with a sidechain. Whenever the monitors play, the microphone just cuts off completely. But that cannot work for me because when I'm doing feedback stream, I need to talk while the track is playing. I cannot listen to the whole track in silence and then say everything that I want to say, because I forget most of the things by the end of the track. Thanks for the feedback. We'll look into the kick and bass issue for sure. You're welcome. I'm glad it's helpful. Next up, Etya. Let's see. This guy is also known as Alpha Sense. And the track is just a work in progress, as you can see. Very pop EDM kind of start for a psytrance track with the chords. I do like the sound selection that you have. I think you should just have a stable chord as opposed to the chord changes. And then you can have a cool arp like this on top of it, like that. I don't know, if this is a bit more of a poppy or more progressive track, then it can work as well. It does feel that way, so maybe it's fitting as well. Nice kick and bass. It is completely mono, as I always recommend a little bit of stereo widening on the higher frequencies of the kick and bass. Anything above 200 Hz can be a little bit wider. Although I do have to say your bassline doesn't have a lot of stuff happening there. Nice vocal shout, I like that. Nice melodic part. Sound design is very good in this one. What I would like to see in general, I criticized the bassline before, but in general a little bit more stereo if on some of the elements, a little bit more stereo play maybe. Some auto panning left and right, or just some synths kind of question answering left to right. But also just stereo width, that's even more important than panning. I rarely use panning and I often use stereo width on most of my sounds. And I think this track needs a little bit more of that. Desk glitch manually switches between mic and audio. I do like it how I have it now, in that I just sidechain the desktop audio with my microphone. Nice. That's the autoplay. I hate autoplay. But overall, very nice track. I like it. I like what you're doing. I like where you're going with it. I think a few small details that I talked about at the end, listening back now to the intro, I think it does fit with the style that you've going on. It's a very progressive kind of style, so that works very well. This guy is Alpha Sense, also known in my Discord as Etya. Etai, I think. I'm mispronouncing it, I know, so I'm not going to try to do that again. But this is his track, it's the new project here. Next up, we have a Dutch guy, looking at the text that he sent here. Enroll duil with Ultor, also known as NOXO or N0X0. I don't know. Ultor. Nice dark start here. Very fast sounding. I like it. You do need to resample your kick and bass, clean it up, especially on the bass line. You can see how it's being pushed around by the last note. So the bass line feels very undefined, like it doesn't have a proper click to it. And that is exaggerated, that effect is exaggerated by the lack of cleanliness in the kick and bass. Hi from Brighton, the whole of Brighton, very nice. Say back to me, say hi back to Brighton for me, please. I think this track would be better if you muted that synth that is playing 16 notes at this point, because that synth is getting very boring. Or just sparsely put it in somewhere, but now there's a lot of different things happening that I cannot pay attention to because there's this one main synth playing throughout the whole thing. Your fills do sound very nice. I do like what you're doing with the plays with the kick and stuff like that. Again, make sure that it's all cleaned up and that there's no bleeding from one kick into another in terms of the tails and everything. Impact sound, I would expect it to play 8 times at least. Or 16, or 32, some kind of multiple like that. Again, the cleaning should be very apparent that that's lacking, right? You LFO tooled it, I think, looking at how the waveform is coming back, not even. Can I zoom in here? Yeah. Yeah, you can see it doesn't even return to 0, so the wave is actually offset here. And you can see the lack of transient in here as well. Right, no space for a click to be. Part of it is because of the bleeding from the last bass note, especially over here. But part of it is also in the synthesis that I feel like it's just licking that clack from the synthesis point as well. So that and the way that you're structuring your synths is the main problem with this track in my opinion. Needs more stereo? Yeah, a little bit of extra interest in the stereo would also be nice. Hi from California. Again, also say hi back to the whole of California for me, thank you. Does that mean render to audio, resample, and then LFO tool? The LFO tool is not necessary. LFO tool is sidechaining. I would do that personally with velocity or volume control, like just manual volume for every clip or something like that. You can also do it with LFO tool. There's no issue with that, but usually what people do is they just put the LFO tool on their actual bassline, instead of the resample part. So if you bounce it first to audio, individual notes, and then you do, you clean it up, right? You add the fade towards the end so that it's exactly a 16 note long, and you have no bleeding from other notes into it. And then you lay out that resampled bass. If you then put an LFO tool on it, then it's, then it's clean. But here with the cleaning, you would also need to check all those kick fills for cleaning as well. Right, make sure that every sample is properly faded out before the transient of the next kick. That every transient has maximum power. Thank you, Farley. I really appreciate that you saying hi to everybody. while you're at it, ask them to join the stream. Sound design is very good. Like, it's definitely the skilled sound designer who made this. It's just lacking attention in details in the way that the sounds are structured. Here again, the kick and bass, or the bass line could use a little bit of stereo width to those higher frequencies. But those higher frequencies aren't very present in this bass line. Also, the bass line is a little bit on the loud side. I know it's best to monitor with speakers, but from time to time I live in a van and I need to work on headphones. Can anyone recommend some good ones? It doesn't really matter. These are 10-year-old Sennheisers HD 280 Pro. I like them. I know how they sound, which is much more important than like them being good or flat or anything like that. Because what ends up happening is that you need to learn how music sounds on your gear. So you need to listen to a lot of music on it. And then any flaws that happen in your gear, you automatically will get used to them. Right? Like, say that my new monitors, the way that I would use them now is not necessarily try to get as flat of a frequency as possible, but to try to understand how professional music works on my monitors, how it's supposed to sound on my monitors. And then from there, I try to make my music sound as close as possible. Okay, so this was Ultor by Enroll duil. Thank you for submitting. We have quite a few tracks today, that's nice. We have some stuff to get through. Next up, we have Virtual Instinct with Universal Mystery 151 BPM Final Project Mix .flag. Let's see. Thank you, you're welcome. I hope it's useful. It's taking a while to load this one. There we are. It should start playing soon. It's just... there we are. Very ominous start here. I like that pitchman that you have going on. There's just a bit too much happening here. Also, you have a very strange transient to your bass line. I'm not sure you want this. Very strange snare. Sounds like it has like a wash delay to it, the snare. now it already sounds a little bit better in terms of not having that weird delay thing happening with the noisiness going left and right. That really took me out of the groove. The other thing that is happening is that your offbeat isn't really an offbeat hat, so it sounds very strange. Why is this riser rising up to a different point there? There's a few strange decisions here. Like that riser is still, it feels like it rose to that transition and then it continued rising. I would have it stop there. Or maybe go down from that point again. Still going back to the snare, it sounds very one-dimensional, very bland. Just mix the clap lower, layer the snare with a clap. It doesn't necessarily have to be a clap, it's just a very bland snare. It's a very bland option for a snare. You can just get a better snare sample. I do like that you cut the lower frequencies from that snare to make space for the kick and that have the kick have that more power. Usually I don't want the fundamental in my snare either. The kick sounds like it's almost saturating in these very high energy parts of the track. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of the mid-range being this loud in the kick either. Sounds very stompy, very strong in your chest. Whereas the bass line is very dark. And also the sound design is very dark in terms of how you're sound designing. What I don't like is you have a very low pause and then you go back into the kick and bass and then a lot of different elements start to play immediately. Like the snare starts to play, a lot of the atmospheres immediately start to play, a lot of the synths immediately start to play. What I would like in this part of the track is it to be very simple, right? And then slowly again build it up until this point here where you again go into the high energy like you're doing now. Because it's again a little bit about that one-dimensionality. In the sense that the track always stays at the same energy level. What you could do is have that little bit of a dip in there. So that it then like transitions upward like this. I don't know if that's clear, right? You have high energy, then you go down, and then you go back up with the drop. What you did is you had the downwards and then the drop came in and it again went up with all the elements starting to play. See you, Zen Lion. Thank you for stopping by. Like here, all of the drums are stopping, so this should probably be a lower energy part of the track. And still you have all the atmospheres going on, all the synths going on like you had before. You're never really giving the listener either the... I just hate the autoplay. It's such a stupid feature. Big fan of dry kick and bass after a drop for a couple of bars. Yes, me too. or at least just a few one-shots on top of it, so that the kick and bass is very prominent in those delay tail areas. I understand that some people don't want to have their kick and bass like completely empty. Then you can have like a very soft atmosphere or something like that. But something that gives the kick and bass a lot of breathing room. Because that's really what this track is missing, in my opinion. It's both the high end and the low end of the energy level. And the way that you get there is through cleverly playing with silence on different elements. And what I mean by that is, what I hear a lot in these type of tracks is that people have, for example, an atmosphere that goes throughout the whole track, right? Every track there will have those gliding up and down atmospheres happening that glide slowly higher and lower throughout like 2-3 bars maybe, something like that. And what I hear is that they have them even in the highest, or supposedly the highest energy parts of their track. And in those cases, what happens is they really drag down the energy level, because it's this slow morphing element that is just, you know, adding a lot of length to a section, I should say, or length to or lengthy feeling to that part of the track, to that section where they play in. So in the very high energy parts of the track, just mute those atmospheres. Just completely get rid of them and fully focus on the synths and the faster sequences and stuff like that. And then on the other part of the spectrum, if you have a lower energy part, use only atmospheres maybe. Or just use a one-shot every once in a while that just delays out and then nothing over top, just kick and bass. Right? Because you also don't have any other drums playing, so then it's clearly low energy level. If we listen to this last part here again, you can hear that it's synths constantly playing, like every bar maybe, every 2 bars maybe, and then it's the atmosphere underneath it and stuff like that. You can even hear multiple synths, and this is in the outro, so this is supposed to be low energy. You can see no trap drums whatsoever. You hear all of those different atmospheres playing, all of those different synths. So you're never really going down to the lowest energy level. Build Your Dreams, how are you doing? Welcome back, long time no see. But I hope that helps. Virtual Instinct. Let's now move on to the next track. So for those that were wondering, this was Virtual Instinct. For those that are wondering still, you can also submit your track, ! Feedback. The bot should be awake by now. We'll send you a link to my Discord, where you can just scroll down to over here, feedback on stream, and join right there into the live stream. And you just pop your track in here with a message, and I'll listen to it. Next up is Toby with Orion's Belt, also known as Nordic Enigma. Sounds very cool. Let's have a listen. Starting off with some triplets. I like that the kick and bass was nice and low in volume here. Leaves a lot of space for you to have them louder later on. Wait, what? So if you're doing normal rolling bassline, why in the intro did you do triplets then? I would also like to suggest that you clean your kick and bass and that the kick becomes a little bit longer. I don't like this effect of having a very short kick drum, almost not having any sub in there. And then already having the first bass note take up all that presence. I much like this bass note to be a little bit lower, and that you then have the kick a little bit longer, so that the kick drums provide some sub bass. That also tends to add a little bit of extra groove to it, because now the bass line sounds like always at the same level. It doesn't have that bounciness to it. Farley, thank you for stopping by. Hope to see you in a little bit maybe. I like this. Nice change of the sound design. It's normally not a synth sound that I'm very much a fan of, the 4-man synths. But this one is very well executed. I like how it plays together with the squelch. I like how it delays out. I like how it accentuates the beat. You should have it stay up until this point though. This is... The fill is where you should transition that into a delay kind of sound. And at this point the delay should probably be gone. It's still ringing out. You can again hear the 2 clicks that you get from just cutting the bass line like this, or the kick like this. You hear that at the end of the tail of the kick, there's also like a click happening. Not anymore now.
Let your feet carry you.
That sounded a little bit strange, the pre-drop there. There wasn't a clear definition at where the build-up ended. Very strange that we're going into a high energy part here, because the part before it was very slow. Also, the drums sound very strange. Like they don't have any bite to them, and they sound very distant as well. Is there reverb, like a very long reverb on the drums? Or maybe some kind of like strange delay, because I also hear some stereo action in the high frequencies going on. Which could be the result of like a strange ping pong delay on the drums, but I don't understand why you would choose to do that. I like the sound design that you have going on in this part. Could be a bit more stereo, that main synth. Overall, I would say the final issue that I want to bring up with this track is, in my opinion, it's too short for what it's trying to do with the breaks and stuff like that. Because we're now going into the outro. This track is 6 minutes and 20 seconds long, and it has a like 3 very prominent breakdowns in between, right? There's a breakdown here, which is kind of short, I get that. There's a long breakdown in here, and then there's a long breakdown right after again. What I would do is quickly transition into the rolling bass line here. I would remove this breakdown completely and try to find a way to, maybe with a build-up of like 8 bars, quickly get back into that rolling bass line. And then you could extend this track even a little bit more to be maybe like 7 minutes long, with 1 or 2 more sections in the drop. I think that would be much better for the structure of the track. Overall, sounds very nice. I like your sound design a lot. I do think I have said some interesting things, hopefully, on the track that you could improve. Let's now continue with... so that was Toby, for anybody wondering. Let's now continue with Pat Person. Super early draft, not mastered. The world we knew.
When you
I like this. Vocal sounds a little bit dry.
That unbelievable world.
I'm assuming that's because it is still a draft.
And we two were in love, and every bright neon sign turned into stars. The sun and the moon seemed to be ours. Each road that we took turned into gold. But the dream was too much for you to hold. Over and over I keep going over the world we knew. Days when you used to love me.
I think this is a little bit too loud there. It needs a little bit of compression there. To be honest, I wouldn't put drums in this track. Just make it like a slow ballad all the way through. One easy way that you can give a vocal like this a little bit more life is to also stereo widen the vocal a little bit. Because now it sounds very mono, right?
Now over and over I keep going over the world we knew. Days when
This is very loud here, and I don't know about the tuning. Somebody in chat says that it's out of key a lot. I am completely tone deaf in that regard. There is a good reason why I make psytrance is because we all stay in the same key all the time. So I have no actual like instinct for music theory or anything like that. I like that. Nice little spectrogram at the end. Very cool. Yeah, I was sick, lol. I like that. Very honest. It's not been my best day. I know that I can do better. I like that. Next up, how long have I been streaming? About an hour. I did run out of stuff to drink though, so maybe I want to take a break now and then continue on. How many more tracks do we have? 3 more tracks to listen to. Yeah, why not? I'll finish the 3 tracks and then we'll get into a little break. Next up, we have Low Feel with techno or psy-techno at 160 BPM. I'm very interested in what psy-techno is. Aha! Immediately strong start. Let's see if this is clean. No, it is not. You need to clean your bassline. You also need to phase align your bassline probably, because it seems to go all over the place in terms of phase as well. So set a fixed phase for your bassline. Make sure that it plays at the same phase every time. And then clean it up. You don't have to resample this one to actually clean it. Where do I send tracks? Exclamation point feedback. And you can get into my Discord and then submit right here feedback on stream. Just make sure you read this before posting. Kick and bass is too quiet. To be honest, this is sounding like normal techno to me, not yet side techno. I don't know where the side trance is coming in. Not that I'm complaining, I like myself a little bit of techno as well. Yeah, the kick and bass is just too quiet. Everything else is overpowering the kick and the bass line, which is the most important part of the track. I don't like that the kick and bass already comes in there for like 2 bars and then it goes into the proper drop. Very open bassline, it doesn't have enough click, the filter doesn't close far enough. And again, there's no... The synths and everything else is so loud that the kick and bass doesn't really come through. Like you're mainly listening to synths. I guess the drums are mixed okay, so take your synth group, everything that's a synth, and turn it down by like 5 dB. That vocal as well, that is very loud. Aggressively loud synths in this part. It's getting hard to listen to. Not because it's like bad musically speaking. Everything about the track works from a musical standpoint, apart from a few structural issues that I think I pointed out. The main thing is that everything wants to be loud and up front and in your face, and these synths are just so piercing in these frequencies here, right? It's playing super loudly in the frequencies that we're most sensitive to, between like 2 and 5K. It has a lot of energy, it has a lot of loudness, so it's really burning into your head. And that's just a mixing thing. Like those, all of the synths we've heard should be at least 5 dB quieter. And that last synth, that very loud one that we saw, the loudest harmonic of in here, that should maybe be more, maybe like 7, 8 dB. Let's not be too harsh on Build Your Dreams. It's definitely not that bad. I'm sorry, I'm sometimes a little bit negative. I don't point out a lot of positive things because then I would be constantly talking. There's a lot of positive stuff to talk about here in the sound design, in the sound selection, the various kicks and basses that you made. The drum mix is very nice. There's just a few small details that I want to point out and really hammer on because that's how you improve. And make a proper intro and outro for your track. That's the final thing I would ask that is needed. Some still believe that everything has to be loud. That's not really the loudness war. And in this case, I would argue that this track has to be loud from like a mastering standpoint. But what I'm saying is that in the mix, what you're doing is you're making everything loud and in your face, right? Especially those synths. I'm sorry if I was a little bit too harsh on you, Build Your Dreams. I'm definitely not trying to like roast anybody or burn anybody to the ground with the tracks that they submit. But it at some point it just became a little bit painful, to be honest, to listen to. Maybe I'm listening a little bit too loud in terms of volume right now. I can change that here over now. Now on my new interface. I still have to get used to the fact that I can now change headphones and speakers differently on my audio interface. It's really nice. Where can I send a track? I've got something interesting, I think. As MindB shows, exclamation point feedback should wake up the bot. It does not seem to work, although it was awake before. The Stream Elements chatbot. I'm having a lot of issues with this chatbot. I find it annoying. I'm considering switching to a different service because of it, because it seems to get worse and worse in terms of its issues, just waking up and stuff like that. But anyway, once the bot does wake up and it allows you to enter the Discord, all you have to do is scroll down into here, feedback on stream, and then you post it so that we have it in here. But it shouldn't make my ears bleed too much. Yeah, and that's just a mixing thing in that you're taking elements that are very loud in that 2K area, 2K to 5K-ish, I would say. That's the most sensitive area to our ears. And you're just making them too loud. Right? So that's mainly the synth sounds that sit in that higher mid-range, I guess, area. You can just turn them down in volume. They don't need to be that loud and up front, because they're also taking away a lot of attention from the kick and bass, which at the end of the day is the most important part, because that's what we're like dancing to. I think there should be a link to my Discord down below as well, in the description. Then you can just enter and post it right here. Next up, we do have a work in progress, Peace and Harmony by MindB. One of the people that I recently started a label with, for those that don't know. I'll later play a track from that label as well during the break. But for now, we're listening to a work in progress track called Peace and Harmony. Already starting off both peaceful and harmonious. A little bit of work needs to be done for that spoken vocal to stand out a bit more. But I love the kick and bass. Sounds very good. Nice and clean as well. The only thing I would say for your bass line, you should probably filter out the higher frequencies at around 8K. Just with like a static filter, don't change the envelope. The click is good, it just needs to be a bit more consistent, and you get that by removing those very high frequencies at the very beginning of the click. The same can be said for the kick, but usually I do that at 10k, so the kick click starts a little bit higher up than the bass click. Kick click around 10k, I'm filtering it out with a low pass, and then the bass line at around 7, 8k-ish, that kind of area. The intro was made in 30 minutes. You did say that, yes. The classic Mind Be Acid line is coming in here. I like it. For one, I thought there would be another high energy section after the last one. Like it was really rising, that synth, so that would suggest to me that there's another high energy part coming after that. Two, what you could do is have this be the last segment before the breakdown, as opposed to also adding this synth to it. This sounds more like a second drop synth to me. And then in the part before it, if you have that as the last part of the before the breakdown, the last section before the breakdown, you can chop up the bass a little bit and have a little bit of a more interesting bass groove as it's kind of going down. I like the stereo play here between the two synths. I think also on your bass line a little bit of stereo widening would be nice. Sounds very good. I like it. I like where this is going. We do have already some more submissions. Right now it's an hour in. I'm getting a little bit thirsty, so I'm going to take a break and get myself something to drink. In the meantime, I'm going to be playing another track from our recently started label. For those that don't know, I started a label with 4 more guys. And which track will I put? I'll put on the Dream Machine. It's a nice track. I like this one. This is a collaboration between me and Subject Ultra. So sit back, relax, and I'll be back in a little bit, and then we'll continue on with, let's see, Fosso B. For those that don't know, the last track that we listened to is Mind B. 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll be back, and then we'll continue with the feedback.
This is a dream machine. machine.
Forgot a drink. Be right back. This track and many more can be found on the Eclipse page. For those that don't know the label that we started, I'll quickly link it for you guys in the chat so that you can immediately subscribe. Right there. We're already on 222 subscribers, which is very nice. Thank you guys for supporting this little project. And I'll continue with the next track that we have to listen to. Again, for those that don't know, you can still add your tracks to the feedback on stream queue. The next track that we'll be listening to is My Autumn Track. Perhaps this track repeats the mistake of tracks that I sent then, but we'll have a listen here. It's just a random date, so it doesn't have any title or anything. Nice long drawn out melody. I like that. What I don't like is the kick being this loud without it being the drop. This is just like a build-up thing, I would assume. So it sounds a bit strange for the... Oh, the bass also comes in. There's not really a transition into it being the drop. I do like the vibe that you have going on with the synth here. Clap kind of starts playing at a random point. You would assume that there's some kind of transition up into that, like you have with the hats. But also for those, you usually have a fill in front of it as well. Let's quickly see if we can pause it later to check the cleanliness of the kick and the bass. What I would do if these resonant chords that you have going on in here is not go up above the area that the other chords are playing in, so it becomes like a layer of the harp thing that is playing. Right now it feels a little bit disconnected there. Right here the synths feel a little bit loud. And they feel a little bit disconnected from each other. Like you have a very strong kick and bass going on, and then there's a lot of synth stuff happening in here, and then there's nothing happening in the middle. Here we can check the cleanliness of the kick and bass, and we can see that the bass line is indeed very strongly fading into the kick here. So you definitely want to resample your bass line there. I'm not a fan of the kick in this portion. What I would do here is low pass the kick, so that you just have the punch from it and not that click. If you're exporting wave files, I would do 24-bit. Or 32 if you can handle it. 32 floating point. If you're going above 0 dB, then I would definitely use 32-bit floating point. But otherwise, 24-bit is better. What I'm lacking in this track is every time there's a change in the main synths and stuff like that, the kick and bass just kind of continue to go. And the drums don't have a lot of different states, in that we heard no drums, only like snare, and then snare and hats. There's no offbeat hi-hat, for example, like an open hat. And the drums just kind of continue. Even in this part here, it's very similar to the drums that are in the normal 4 on the floor pattern. So the drums sound a little bit boring. I hope to finish a mix before you stop your stream. That would be nice. I'll probably be live like another hour or so, maybe a little bit more. Also, I think it has lost its power that you're constantly going out of the how would you say that, out of the 4 on the floor and into this pattern that you're playing here. Like, you can do that once, maybe twice in a track, but that's really something that you play once in a breakdown so that it sounds unique. And now that we've heard it 4 or 5 times, it loses that originality. So I would just use a track like that once throughout the track. Okay, next up we have JRB, still early on in arrangement with this track, and glaring mistakes so far, question mark. We'll listen if there's any glaring mistakes. It's my first time mixing. Should I give the final mix for feedback, or should I also master it first? You can give the final mix, that is perfectly fine. Usually, to be honest, mixing takes quite a lot of time. I'm planning on doing a video explicitly talking about like my mixing process in regards to one of my tracks, and I'll point out a few of the different like stages that you go through, because I said like in an hour I'm going to stop streaming. Normally if you're mixing, you shouldn't have enough time to then finish before I end my stream. What is an easy way to phase kick and bass, and do I need visualization to check? I don't know what you mean. Do you mean like phase align, or phase as in phase offset? Because there's 2 different types of phase processing that we do on the bass line. The kick is not like important in terms of phasing, but what we do is let's get a kick. Let's get ourselves a kick drum. If you want these kick drums, Psychedelic Drum Pack Volume 1 is the way to go. You can support the channel by purchasing it, and it would make me very happy. They're BPM aligned, as you can see. If I unwarp this, see perfectly aligned here, so you can just duplicate it over a couple of times if you need to. And this is a kick for G sharp, so we'll make our bass line in G sharp as well. Just a quick explainer here for what we're actually doing. I'm going to get my bass patch. This is from Psychedelic Essentials Volume 3, again for anybody wondering. And this is the patch in here. I want to go up to G sharp and then a couple of octaves lower, and then we want this to be lower velocity. Not really going to care about the tonality here, but I am going to just set it up like this. What we're seeing here is phasing, which is the processing that you apply to a waveform to make your baseline out of. And this is usually done through multiband processing your baseline, right? And it gives it this weird shape to the baseline. We can show what that looks like if we take my size scope thing here, and I just route my kick to the kick and the bass to the bass here, and we'll have a look at what it actually looks like. Very strange click in the transient on this kick, but that's okay for now. Let's open up Serum down below here. You can see that the change in processing, this is what we usually mean with phasing. Right, we get this kind of change to the processing. What we mean by phase alignment is what is happening between the kick and the bass. So there, the way that you would change that, in this patch it's a little bit hard to do, but you would change the phase so that that lines up with the kick. In this case, I don't do that because what I have is that there's no sub bass in here, so I cannot phase align this to each other because this lower oscillation, this lower frequency that's in the kick is not present in the bass. So that's a little bit of a different story. Last question, should I export in 44.1K or 48K sampling frequency? I'm so dumb. It depends on your project settings. You always copy over your project settings to whatever you have. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter between those two. There's like very small difference between those two. Hello, Mr. Friendly, welcome. So the phase alignment is done. Let's see if I can just add the sub bass back in for now temporarily. Yeah, the phase alignment is done, as you can see right here, it is out of phase in that this waveform is going up while this one is going down. You can kind of see that there's there's a sine wave in here as well, right? There's this oscillation in here as well that is mirrored to this one. So what we want is we want the exact opposite of that happening. So the method that I use for phase alignment isn't the prettiest, but just as a demonstration, you can phase align to something that looks more like this. Let's duplicate it over again, so get it a little bit earlier still. There we are. And now you can see that this imaginary sine wave is kind of going down with this one and then going up with this one. So it's going up here and it's going down over here. Now it means that it's phase aligned. That's how you look at it. This channel is like a cheat code for producers. That's what I want to do, yes. That's exactly what I want to be. Don't do it this way, by the way. There's different ways of phase aligning. You can do it in the patch in here. You can do it with a plugin like the Voxango one that I have. This HA989. This is a better way to doing it than just with filters. Of course, in either way, you still need to resample, so then any of the problems that filters introduce will be taken care of. So only with EQ? No, the EQ method is just a quick way for me to show what is going on when we're phase aligning. Don't actually phase align like this. Like never high pass your baseline without any reason to do that. But I need a visual to check. Yeah, you need something like size scope to actually check that. It's not something that you just do by listening. You have to check it like manually on the oscilloscope. Yes. Thank you for your feedback. To be honest, I do not immediately recognize English speech. I'll listen to it again later. Partially that is my fault because my speaking isn't the best. But there's nothing that I can do about that. English is also not my first language, so I understand the struggle. Hopefully you do learn something watching it back, and you can apply that to some of your tracks. Anyway, let's move on to the next track. For anybody who still wants to submit, you can do so by joining the Discord. !feedback should get you the link there, but it seems that the bot is a little bit broken. And then you can just dump your track in here, feedback on stream. Just read this before posting. Make sure that this is all okay. Next up, we have JRB with You and Me, I think. Right? We haven't played this one yet. Have we? No. I don't remember it. Nice building up intro here. I like the detail sounds that we have going on.
We must understand this. There is nothing wrong with the world. It's only you and me.
Sounds very good so far. Kick and bass is nice and separated. Very easy to do with an offbeat bass line. Still nice to see that it's cleaned up. I think my spectrum analyzer is spazzing out a little bit here. I'll see if I can fix it on the fly. I feel like these drums should come in after a fill. Like this would have been a good space for them to come in. Now that energy is nice and high as well. Are you at Burning Mountain Festival this year? I am attending. I'm not playing. That would be something else, yeah. But I will be attending the party, yes. When you're going into such an aggressive part as you're going into here, it's nice to prepare the listener with a little bit of a riser so that they know that the energy is going up. Because now it just kind of happens. Read what before posting? The description here. As you can see, just read this part before posting, as it says up there. It's just the channel description.
There is nothing wrong with the world. It's only you and me.
You have this synth in here that is this very dark, like rhythm synth. Dun dun dun. Right? The dun dun pum. Pum pum pum. I don't know if you can hear it, but if you do, for that synth, it never really opens up. It would be nice to have a section where that synth opens up completely. Because it plays always, but it never really becomes present.
It's only you and me, individual human beings, who are the problem. There is only one problem on this planet, human being. If human beings are fixed, and that fixing can only happen from within, because if somebody else tries to fix you, then you know what it is. It's a fight, it's a war, when somebody else tries to fix you. So you must fix yourself. You must engineer yourself the way you think is the best way to be for a human being. Human being, human being, human being, human being, human being, human being.
I like the vocal mix that you're doing here, giving the vocals enough space to deliver the messages that they're delivering.
It's only you and me.
Still nice and clean kick and bass, although it's a little bit on the short side. You could squeeze one more oscillation out of it, and then you get a little bit more power out of it. That synth is actually a phase resonated almond break. That's a cool way to do it, yeah. A little bit of a loud sound here, that format thingy. I'm assuming you still need to write more, and that's why we're fading out here. It would make sense in the structure that the track would be a little bit longer, like 7 to 8 minutes-ish, more than the 6:15 that you have now. Overall though, very good track. I like the sound design that you have going on, sounds very nice. The next track here is Blanca with Mekaba Techno G minor. I'm sorry it's not exactly psytrance, doesn't matter, but I have to send this to mastering this week or so. It's now or never to get feedback. Well, that's why I'm here. Okay, so that's clearly a remix of a different track. So I'm not going to be playing that. You probably don't have the rights to that track. And as you know, by reading this, which you have to do not submit any works to which you don't own full copyright. I don't want to get into copyright trouble. So, unfortunately, I cannot give you feedback live on the stream here. It's still doing something weird. Do you see how it's like popping in here? Makeba is copyrighted. I think it is. I've heard that track before, so I'm going to assume that that's protected, right? Why is this one misbehaving like that? If I do this, will that fix it? Will that like reload the plugin? I think it does. Is it not copyrighted? Yeah, I'm unfortunately going to skip this one. I can maybe listen to it off stream later here in the feedback not for stream. I was trying to warn you, but with the chat delay. Yes. The chat delay just messed it up. Anyway, but I think I caught it. I just played like 2 seconds of it, identified it immediately, and then moved on. Anyway, that means that we're going to listen to Protocell with Infinite Probability. Still working on some levels and EQ. We'll have a listen anyway. Protocell. That name does ring a bell for me. very minimal dark intro here. Maybe a little too little happening here.
The infinite probability drive is a wonderful new method of crossing interstellar distances in a few seconds without all that tedious mucking about in outer space. As the improbability drive reaches infinite improbability, it passes through every conceivable point in every conceivable universe almost simultaneously. In other words,
the problem that you have here is that the vocal starts off being mixed properly, but then more stuff starts to happen. So it's then becoming masked by the other stuff. Kick and bass is nice and clean. That sound there that is playing, it plays like da-da-da. I think what you would want to do is align it so that the final ta aligns with the kick. Because that's like the strong point of that little idea there, that little one shot. Right, so you align that with the strong point of the track, which is the kick. I think that would sound better. Snare sounds a little bit long for this section here. Although in this part it starts to sound a lot better. There's not a lot of stuff happening here for it to be high energy. Like the drums go full high energy, right? With the open hat. And all of the hats playing and the snare being very strong here. And then the other elements don't follow. This is where it becomes high energy. And at this point what I would recommend is not playing the melody. Even in the one before I would have already gone into probably like sequences and stuff like that. The melody should have only been reserved for the first segment of the drop, in my opinion. Because now it starts to repeat so many times it becomes like actively annoying. I'm trying to listen to the other stuff that is happening in terms of your sound design. Here as well the vocals don't come through nearly as much as you would want it to do.
one foot to the left in accordance with the theory of indeterminacy. Many respectable physicists said they weren't going to stand for that sort of thing, partly because it was a debasement of science, mostly because they didn't get invited to those sort of
This is where some build-up snare should come in. And then at this point the synth should go down again. When you have that big impact with the crash and the kick coming back in, the synth should go down again so that it follows that impact. Now it just kind of plays at the same point over and over again. It just randomly stops in the middle. Should probably have it stop at the fill. See you, Davey. Thank you for stopping by. Nice transition on the vocal fill. Yes, I do like that. Yes. Very good stuff. That was really building up the energy into this part that we're listening to now. The kick seems a little bit quiet in the drop with respect to what was happening in the fill before here. Even in regards to the bassline, I could see it, the kick being turned up like 2 dB. And here you can see in those fills, for some reason the kick is just louder. There you have some issues with cleanliness on your kick. I don't get why in the fills the kicks are louder than in the... than in the drop. Working on the art part now. Thanks for all of the advice and info. I'll get to work. You're welcome. I think mix-wise there's a few issues that I talked about. The other thing that I would suggest for you is to have a look again at the structure of the track, because it feels a little bit undefined. As I said, like there's some fills missing, there's some things just appearing without a fill before it. And I recommend that you check out both my arrangement video as well as my video that I did on my new style of writing recently. My arrangement video, if you like search my channel for arrangement guide or something like that, you should find it as well. Both those things I think will help you more than mixing, to be honest. But overall, I liked it. Very nice sound design. Sounds very cool. Next up, we have over here Cat making biscuits with Dark Wibble, excuse me, work in progress. It is a dark wibble indeed, listening to the intro already. Some very interesting sound design going on in here. It's a little bit on the wide side. The kick and bass sounds very wonky. Very dark bass line without any click to it. And then the kick spends too much time in this part here in the transient pitching down. So it has like a slide to it. Like a chuk chuk, as opposed to like a firm click. And that is happening mainly in the very start of the transient. So the very start of the transient is a little bit too long. Also, here you should have this first note be a little bit quieter so that it doesn't fight with the kick so much. And the kick can be 2-3 dB louder. Overall, there should just be more stuff happening at this point. Here as well, as you can see, this is a space where you started off with a rhythm, you set up an expectation, and then suddenly it just stops playing, right? And it starts playing other things. The point where you change that is in the fill. even if you wanted to change it. I usually have one element play one pattern. And if I wanted to play 2 different patterns, I will have 2 different synth sounds for it. Because it can sometimes sound like you're just reusing synths that you already made. There's some really cool sound design going on in here. You just need to do more of that. Very cool overall. I like it. It's a very good start, but definitely needs some work on the structure with the fills and where certain elements start and finish. My biggest tip that I can give you for that kind of stuff is you just say that this is your kick track and this is your bass track. Whenever you're writing music, you make your kick like this, and then you make your bass notes playing like right here, right? That's what the kick and bass do. The bass line doesn't play in the first part. You just duplicate that over and you lay it out, lay it out, lay it out. And then immediately leave some space for fill here after like 15 bars. So the 16th bar is a fill. And then immediately duplicate it over like this. So that the fill is already embedded in the structure when you're initially writing. And then for the next one you may say, okay, I don't want to do the same thing over again. So I'm going to go with 2 bars of a fill. And then you just duplicate that over and say, okay, I like this, but I again want to change it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for 24 bars here. As you can see, this is the 16 bars. And then we do +8. And then we'll maybe do a long fill here, almost like a breakdown kind of thing, which just gets us into the next section. That is how you should write. That is how you should already incorporate fill ideas and stuff like that into the structure of your track before you even add more elements like synths and your drums and everything like that. Because then you can go in with the drums and you can say like, okay, where do I want the energy of the track to be, right? Because the drums, the top drums, they determine the energy of the track. So just put the drums in where you want them. So here we'll start with a little bit of the drums, and then we'll have a higher energy part of the track over here. So this will be the highest energy of drums, right? There's just more drums happening, usually offbeat hi-hat, something like that. And then maybe here, I don't know, you return back to just solo kick and bass. Then from here, this is your template that you can start to lay out your sequences and one-shots and stuff in. In here, you'll find mostly one-shots. In here, you'll find a combination, some one-shots, some low-energy synths. And then usually you build it up here. You have this big riser, you have this strong fill. And then here you go into all strong sequences. And this is the high-energy part of the track where really you're like dancing to it, and it's all high energy and stuff like that. £5. Thank you very much. Gerto Brewin. Thank you for stopping by and donating. Thank you for the track feedback. Got a head off. Thank you for stopping by. Thanks for the £5 donation. I get to pay 50% of that back to YouTube, but it's still the best way to do it because my other donation link is apparently broken for a long time. I haven't noticed because, to be honest, I don't care too much about getting donations and subscriptions and members or whatever on my stream. It's just me having fun listening to your guys' music. But I still really appreciate your donation. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Dema with Groove City 150 BPM F. It's work in progress. Let's have a listen. Takes a little while to load, but Google Drive should be there any second now. Nice, strong, clean kick and bass. Bassline could use a little bit of stereo on those mids to high frequencies. 250 Hz and above, something like that. Just the stereo widener like M stereo spread will do the trick. Notice that he's using fills here and that new stuff gets added after the fill. That's very well done. That's how you want it. Very cool on the sound design as well. I like the flows that you have going in there. Like it's flowing in every 2 bars or every 4 bars. It feels like it flows into that section, which is a nice way to kind of have that flowing in the track. What I'm missing here is, for example, a unique element in the fill, like a little bit of a drum fill or something like that. I've heard you do kick fills, I heard you do some reverse kicks as well, but having some unique drums in there can make the fill stand out a little bit more. Sounds like you have like a variation in the snare every bar. I would do that like every 4 bars maybe. Just have the normal snare play on the on beat, I guess. It's every other kick, right? Have it play on every other kick, the 2 and the 4. And then just have that variation that you're playing now constantly. Just play like once every 4 bars. So it's a little bit less busy overall. Here the bass melody becomes a little bit repetitive. It's just kind of doing that over and over again. I would maybe write out a pattern of like a bar, 2 bars maybe. Nice use of the stereo field here. I like that. What I don't like is that you're already going into full power kick and bass here. I would lower the volume by like 5 dB on that and not have the high pass come down as quickly as you have it. So that you give the listener a little bit of impact when the kick and bass actually comes back. Nice little granular sound design over here. Sounds very nice. I like it. Very good start. Next up, we have 2 more tracks here. Ambrosia, trying to change my sound and style. This is very baritones of what I would love to know is what sort of ear candies, bass, synth shots, maybe side effects I can use to make this style of music more interesting. Let's see. Dark Arts by Ambrosia. My track is way less done than old demos today, makes me feel like an absolute noob. Sometimes less is more. Like up until this point it's just sounding like a nice tight beat. This can be a little bit of an intro I expect there to be a baseline coming up fairly soon. It's part of the journey, exactly. I can already hear a lot of like ear candy stuff happening, that little growly thing that was playing before. And hear the fact that the whatever sound that you have is kind of like slowly going down. The bassline could have a little bit more sub bass to it. Like it doesn't answer the sub bass of the kick. Which is funny because the kick very quickly goes into that sub bass. So it's like very deep sounding. It doesn't have a lot of punch, the kick. It doesn't have a lot of around the 100 hertz area. Right? So you would expect the bassline also to be very, very like dark. And then the bassline in this case is a lot brighter to it. So there's a little bit of a mismatch there. I hear this sequence coming up, this kind of growling, talking sequence. I would make that stereo. It is very mono now. Especially since the bassline does have a lot of stereo information, which I do like. When the kick comes in, the sub bass of the bass actually becomes lower. No idea why you would do that. You had some sub bass in the break for the bass line, and then the kick comes in and it's actually gone. Also, the kick is fairly quiet, I would say. Kick and bass together can be a little bit louder. Iggy, welcome. How are you doing? There's not really a pause in the top drums, so the top drums are becoming a little bit boring at this point. I would also expect there to be like a sequence coming in here, maybe like a acid line, something like that, to take the track into a new place. Maybe the sidechain is too much? Well, I would expect the sidechain to, like, because it's also on here, right, in the breakdown. This part is very empty. I was gonna say the sidechain also plays in the breakdown, so I don't know why that would lower the overall volume of the whole thing. Unless you're doing two types of sidechain, which I wouldn't understand. It already had that sidechain feeling in the breakdown, so there it should also be sidechaining. Very empty part here. What I would do is probably try to add a melody to this part, like a top melody, a melodic synth, something like that. The bass pattern different here. It felt like it switched in that breakdown somewhere, which I wouldn't do, by the way. The bass sub is being sidechained to the kick. Don't do that. There's no reason to do that. You already have very strong sidechaining on that bass line, which I heard before. And it's not like the sub is overlapping. The sub is playing here for the bass and here for the kick. Right? Because the bass line starts to play here. If there's another bass note over here, you just remove the sub from that bass note. But not with sidechaining, because that's bleeding into what's playing over here. But this already has enough sidechaining to just drop a kick in and it will be fine. Do you hear the bouncy feeling that it has? It already has enough sidechaining. You don't need to sidechain the sub once more. Yeah, the kick definitely needs to be louder. Bugs Funny, welcome. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. Track is getting a little bit boring here. Like, this feels like it needs to be a breakdown, but the kick continues to play. Because the bass is missing, right? Never do just kick or just bass, in my opinion. Because, like, for a prolonged period of time. Obviously, in a fill or something like that, you can do it. But this just feels out of place. Like, the kick is telling me you should be dancing here, and then the bassline doesn't follow up on that. Overall, the track is not really progressing much. You shouldn't be worrying too much about, like, ear candy at this point, but there should be just, like, a few main elements. Because we've been listening to this main part here of the track the same way over and over again, and this drum loop hasn't evolved a lot. Like, there isn't an offbeat hi-hat coming in certain high energy parts of the track, partially because there aren't any high energy parts of the track. Like, there's no part where suddenly this big synth is coming in or something like that. I'm not new here, but I'm Balour from Discord. Ah, nice. I have seen that name before, yes. And you have also submitted, nice. So, this was Ambrosia. It just ended abruptly. I didn't click out of it. It just ended like that, I think. I hope, unless I did something bad. But we have 3 more tracks. What time is it? It's 7. That's kind of okay. Next up, we have Fosso by I'm not entirely sure. But again, a track with just a date and song 17. Synths are taking over here very strongly. I do realize I just dropped out with the connection for a little bit, but I didn't say anything important in that time. Except maybe saying hi to Cosmo. I'm also not a fan of the amount of double kicks and stuff like that you're doing. It really takes away from this just standard groove. Like, it's not a danceable thing. People aren't going to do that, you know what I mean? mixing-wise, the track is very unclear, like there's no proper leveling being done here. Every synth feels like it has to overpower what is happening before it in terms of the volume, so the synths are just becoming louder and louder. Am I enjoying the new atoms? Yes. I feel like there might be too much delay and reverb on some of these synth elements as well. I'm trying to figure out what is causing it to be so unclear. And I think that may be part of the problem. Like it's muddied very clearly. Are you listening to the tracks on full volume? Technically I am, but I'm changing the output volume of my audio interface. So for you guys it's full volume, for you guys it's the maximum loudness, and then I just turn it down on my end with my mini fuse. I'm a bit divided between those and the HS7. To be honest, I wouldn't be able to give you a recommendation. Like, I know mine sound great. They sound nice, they have a nice established stereo field, they have a nice frequency range. My music is sounding good on them, other people's music is sounding good on them. But that, I mean, it's massive upgrade from the speakers that I had before. So any monitors would have done that for me. Anyway, that was Foso. Bye. I'm sorry again for not pronouncing your name properly, most likely. But next up we have Doc of Kurast. It's not a name that I recognize. He isn't new here, so that's strange, but okay. This track is called Claustrum Test 2, a track I have issues with mixing part. I wonder how the mix sounds, especially the leads. Let's have a listen. It will be my first studio monitors also. Then it will just be a massive upgrade for you. No question. Please play. It takes Google Drive always a little bit of time. There we are. Little bit on the wide side here on these synths. As you can see, we're just going over the phase correlation area here. Want that to be slightly lower probably. Very strange open sounding kick and bass. I'm also not a fan of the sequence immediately at the start. I always like to leave a little bit of kick and bass for the listener to just get used to the groove. It sounds like it's not going too low here. It's going to like C sharp 1. Now I know that you cannot go to C sharp 0, but a track like this I would have the kick maybe go to G-ish. Because now it all feels very high up, like there's no sub bass. My nickname is just Voss. I'll try and remember to call you like that then. The stereo field does sound very good on this track. I do like it now. I said before it was a little bit too much, but at this point it sounds very, very nice. I think the analyzer might be slightly broken. at this stage, because I saw some weird things happening before. But I like the infected mushroom style synths that you have going on here. Very strange pitching up effect there. In terms of mixing your leads, all of the leads I've heard up until this point sound too loud to me. Like 2 to 5 dB too loud. In terms of them being main leads, because the kick and bass doesn't really come through. Part of that is because the kick and bass is playing so high up that it doesn't have as much like presence in those lower frequencies. Like even here, it doesn't feel like it has really a lot of power, and that is because that kick doesn't go down far enough in terms of its frequency range. I guess you can get away with the bass line being so high if the kick goes lower, that kick adds that lower weight to it. But that's not happening here. All of the synths sound very nice, very complex, very unique. For 1.5 years of production, Ulas, this is sounding very good. This part is starting to sound a little bit empty though. There should be some other elements there adding interest. And what you probably want is this synth that is coming in now in the higher frequencies. You want that to wait for it to come in so that the listener can get used to just the kick and bass and vocal. Maybe here, after that fill, it can come in. But you're going into the vocal in the breakdown, like a very clear vocal theme. Then the kick and bass should just start to play there, where it's playing now. And then the vocal should also have its own space with the kick and bass to get the listener used to it. And then the synth is coming in. Something like that. But yeah, I tried an infected mushroom vibe in this track. It is working. There's some parts where you suddenly have this sub coming in from, I don't know where from. But that highlights the lack of sub in the, like, kick drum itself. Sounds very cool. I like it. I like it a lot. Next up, we have Balour, Funny Bucks, with the track Fear of the Dark. Now we're getting some low frequencies. Listen to the strength on that kick and bass. I was hoping the kick and bass would be a little bit louder here. I was going to praise you like, oh, I like how you're starting off with the kick and bass nice and quiet so that the listener gets used to it, and then when the drop actually happens, it's louder so it has an impact. But I guess YouTube is turning down for loudness compensation the track. There's some cool sound design going on. I also like the way that you're stereotyping the transient of the bass line. I feel like the rhythms are on the like big drums that you're playing here are like semi-randomized in that they play a few different patterns, but they play those patterns randomly. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of that effect. In my opinion, either go full random on which drums get triggered where and just have the rhythm the same every bar, or just have like the same rhythm and the same drums playing every same time. I've sent this to master, but the things that I'm pointing out is something that you would fix in the mix. Or the last thing in production even. Like a mastering engineer is probably not going to make that decision for you. You have to basically just by the mix you make, you tell him like, okay, I want this kick and bass when it's filtered, when it's in the intro, a little bit lower in volume than when the main one comes in. And usually I change that or I set that to 5 dB, that difference. And you just imprint that in the mix so that the mastering engineer has no choice but to implement that into his master. Suddenly the track is very mono. Now some more stereo stuff is coming, but that main FM synth is almost completely mono. I wouldn't have it that way. I'm a fan of the fact that you're doing something with the hats, that is not just 16 notes. I'm not a fan of that happening like every bar. I think this track is good. I do also think this track is good. The sound design is very, very nice. Sound selection is very cool. By the way, I love your videos. I've been following for a while. Greetings from Denmark. Greetings to you as well. I'm glad you like the videos. Here again, this vocal, you're doing a lot of cool sound design things to it, but one of the things you're not doing is stereotyping it. So it sounds very mono and like in your face. I do like that your bass is stereotyped. I think I said that before. But that usually bridges the gap a little bit between the completely mono kick and the more stereo synths. I already sent it. Yeah, but it would be I guess a lesson for the next one. Little stereo play there on the kick, I like it. I would expect the kick to speed up a couple of times more there, to 16 notes and maybe even 32 notes. few bass melodies would have also been nice here. Kick and bass feels like it's becoming a little bit stale now. Here. Overall, in regards to the synth sounds, I think the kick and bass could be a little bit louder, as well as the drums. Or you could turn down the synths a little bit. I think a difference of like 3 dB extra would be nice. Overall though, it sounds very good. Sounds very good on the sound design. And do you recognize the sample of the vocals? I don't recognize it, no. How do you set a track for me to listen? You type !feedback. That will send you to my Discord server. There should also be a link in the description to get into my Discord server, if that doesn't work. But you just scroll down once you get into the Discord server, and then right here, feedback on stream. Read this first. Don't submit any work that you are planning to copyright claim, and don't submit any work that is a remix or that you don't fully own the copyright to. This is very important because if there's any legal stuff that is happening, I will be off the hook and I will send any of that stuff directly to you. It's Iron Maiden. If I get sued, then it's your problem, my friend. I will tell you right now, I have the message in here. I know your username. I know who you are. So if that ever comes up, if that ever becomes a problem, then it's going to become your problem. I'm very transparent in that. If you guys, it says it right here, read before posting. Everybody should read that. Don't submit works that you don't fully own the copyright to. I am pretty sure Iron Maiden didn't give you copyright permission to use their sample. So if they do come for me, then they're going to come for you as well. Because I'm just directly, straight up going to say, like, deal with him. I'm just sitting here listening to your tracks, so I shouldn't be held responsible for your copyright infringements. Okay, next up we have Datura with Don't Have a Name Yet. Let's listen. Lunar Element, welcome, welcome. But it's okay because it's just a chop. I mean, Iron Maiden is going to argue that it isn't. It's going to be your problem. I'm just saying. I have to listen to this track now, by the way.
As the beat starts to pulse, let your breath become your guide. And release any tension. Breathe.
I like this intro. This synth is maybe a little bit on the loud side. Let's see. Kick and bass. Definitely needs to be cleaned up. Resampled. Your kick is also a little bit on the long side, so you need to resample that one as well. Going for a full gallop pattern here. No first bass note whatsoever. Nice transition there. Also, when I upload to YouTube, I didn't get copyright strikes, so neither do you get it. I was just at the shops and I decided to steal something, but it was okay because the shopkeeper didn't see me do it. That's the idea behind a comment like that. I'm doing copyright infringement, but it doesn't matter because the people that actually own the copyright don't know it's happening. Because that's technically what we're talking about, right? And I know that I've done the same thing. At most I'm a hypocrite, but that doesn't mean that I'm wrong. It's kind of strange. If you think about it, it's kind of strange that we're doing it as much as we do in the psytrance scene. I should get back to this track though, listening to what's happening here. I feel like you're trying to do a little bit too much with different bass patterns. Like every single portion of the track has its own groove. And I don't think that... I think that means that there's not a lot of cohesion between the different elements in the track. Do I listen to all the tracks? Yes. Snare with a strong fundamental. Here, I think. This one. You would probably need to remove that fundamental. I feel like there's too much stuff happening here. There's too many ideas playing. We have the plug kind of pitching down, and then the squelch, and then some other FM synth, and then we have the ride here, the crashes. What do the colors on the top graph stand for? It's just the frequency content. But to be honest, I don't really use the colors, I just use the shape of the waveform, the actual look of the waveform. This kick and bass is nice and clean. The bass line is just a little bit too loud for the kick, or the kick could go up by like 2 dB. Usually you want your kick to be a little bit louder than your bass line. Okay. How many more tracks do we have? How long have I been streaming? 2.5 hours. I am going to take another quick break and then I'll be back and listen to some more of your guys' music. Which track will I put on now? It's again going to be one from the label. I'll put on Substance. It's a collaboration. This is not one of my tracks. This is a collaboration between Subject Ultra and Mortec. And this came out with some of my music as well. Again, go over to Eclipse right now, our label, and check it out. Eclipse Sound Syndicate over here, at Eclipse Sound Syndicate on YouTube and wherever. I will again post the link in the chat for your convenience so that you can sign up and help make this stuff become a success. Anyway, let's have a listen to this track over here, and I'll be right back for some more feedback.
fundamental human experiences through psychedelic drugs.
Accidentally turned on or off the wrong thing here. I do realize now that not all of the analyzers are on. Okay, that is called Substance by Subject Ultra and Mortak. The track is now available on the Eclipse pages, also on streaming services and on Bandcamp. So if you want to support us as artists, make sure that you check that out. How can I get the copyright for that sample? You would need to talk to the lawyers of Iron Maiden, which I don't think they're going to give it to you. On the other hand, though, you're using it in a way that is not immediately obvious, so as you are saying, the likelihood that you're going to get into trouble with that is very, very low. At the end of the day, that's how you weigh everything, right? You want to use samples in your music, depending on how you're using them, if you're transforming them enough, like if you're like actually altering the sample from how it originally plays in the other track. All of those things have an influence on how easy it is to kind of get away with copyright infringements. But on the other hand, sorry, a little bit of a voice crack there. You could argue that it's part of fair use. If you're confident enough that you're transforming it in a way that falls under fair use. Because essentially you would need to go to court in order to establish fair use, because it's decided by a court on a case-by-case basis. It is not decided by just stating that, right? I didn't think about it to send it for you. I'm so sorry. To be honest, you would have gotten away with it if you didn't tell me. And again, that's because you're really transforming the sample. So I think you're actually fine in terms of just like the law and stuff like that. But because you tell me, I'm in the position that I know. Do you know what I mean? Like it's an Iron Maiden sample. And then I start to think like, oh, what if they're going to come after me? What if there is issues with copyright? Because literally every stream of mine is now flagged for copyright nowadays. And there's a video going to come on why that is the case. I just need more data so that I can actually show what is going on properly. I seem to have some strange connection issues now. That I sometimes just very, very quickly fall away. I'm truly sorry, forgive me. I have already forgiven you. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Next up, we have DJ Alligator versus Space Frog, Follow Me 2020. I've made this with music video also. Well, we are going to look at the analyzers. Sorry for that, it was a little bit loud. I think this is like an intro to it, because it's like the logo playing and stuff like that. So I think I'm not entirely sure, but it sounds like you're taking the kick and bass from a Vini Vici track. Like it sounds almost identical here. Overall, good track, good mix, sounds very nice. Sound design is not really my cup of tea, I should say, but it does work from a technical standpoint. We have 3 more tracks in here being submitted. So what I'm going to do is after this, I'm going to close the queue. That means that we have more than 3 hours streamed and I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to close it now and then we'll listen to these 3 tracks. And oh, so both of these are remixes, so I cannot play them. Because, again, if you don't have the copyright to this, then I cannot play it. So that's unfortunate. I'm sorry for Lunar Element as well, because he's one of my ex-students. But it does say here, don't submit any works that you don't fully own the copyright to. Maybe I need to clarify this more. Should I explicitly state, like, no remixes and stuff like that? What do I think about it? Well, to be honest, it is not a make or break situation for your kick and bass not to be cleaned, right? It's just that the reason why I advocate for it is the people that do clean their kick and bass tend to develop this keen eye for details in the track that makes it so that, like, for everything they go into it with that approach. So you get more of an eye for the details of a track through doing it this way. It's almost like an exercise to do it. What it mean explicit no remix? Can I put remixes I make? I mean, a remix is a remix. If you're using somebody else's material and you're redoing a part of the track with their material, then you cannot post it. No. I think this should be clear enough, but do I, as I said, do I explicitly need to state so no remixes, edits of other people's, use of other people's samples? Do I need to really list out what you cannot do? Even here as well. By submitting your track, you grant me the permission to play and review your track during the live stream and subsequent video on YouTube. It might not clearly state that you therefore cannot copyright claim my live stream with your music. It doesn't clearly... It isn't like explicitly said that that is what this line is saying. But if you read this, right... it should be clear. My friend, I just exported all of my mix with normalization. I think you said somewhere in your mixing videos you do still approve of this. Yes, I would still do that. Yeah, unfortunately, Lunar Element, I cannot play your tracks. They are remixes, so I won't play them. That's just the rule. I'll play this new song here by Balour, and then we'll end the stream. So let's have a listen here. Nice starting out with the kick and bass. Bassline is very spiky. You probably don't want this, so you need to do more phase shifts. You also need to clean it here, because here you can see it's going into the transient. Again, I'm going to explicitly argue that you should clean your kick and bass, because it's just a detail that if you get it right, your track becomes better. So even if Infected Mushroom doesn't care about that particular detail, they have been able to get away with that. But that doesn't mean that you should be doing it, right? We should always try to make the best possible music. In my opinion, this track is missing a little bit of its grit factor. Overall, I think the hi-hats could have a little bit more airiness around 10k. And then there should be some kind of like really gritty synth playing every once in a while, right? Like an FM synth with a very strong bandpass, kind of something like that. I put remix from other track, but I also make both, but I use sample from eClip from every sound. I have no idea what that means. I'm really sorry. they're coming. Well, I do feel like they're coming in a little bit late, because the track already has that high energy in terms of its drums. And now it's starting to get filled up with like nice gritty synths and stuff like that. I would have this throughout the whole parts where your drums are like high and elevated. You know, in the sense that all of the drums are playing now, so that indicates high energy.
Wait, where's my headphones?
Now that you're going into this plucky sound here, I would stop playing with the other synths so that it really takes over as the new idea of the track. And then maybe make another synth that isn't the ones that you played before. Because then you have like real separation between those two ideas. Oh, I mean every sound I use from Eclipse, but I make it myself. Okay, I mean, yeah, I guess then if you make it yourself, then you own the copyright to it. That's okay. But then it's not a remix. Then it's just a track. A remix is if you take somebody else's material and turn that into your own material. Right? By making a track out of somebody else's track. That's a remix. Anyway, it doesn't really matter for today because I did close the queue and decided to not accept any more submissions for today. You guys can join again next week, same time, same place. Every Sunday I do feedback streams starting at 5 o'clock. As always, I'll publish a notification a few hours earlier, usually around 5 hours. So make sure that you're subscribed and that you follow and that you do all the things to make sure that you don't miss the stream. But that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream and I hope you enjoyed all of the music, that the feedback was helpful, and I also hope that you guys will go out of your way and check out some of my music. Links I just posted in chat before, but I'll post it once more for those that are just joining. This is the link to my label. Go follow, go check out some of my music, and thank you. Now I hope that you guys again enjoyed the stream.